Good morning, Saurabh. My name is Rahit. I am a part of the alumni office here at OP Jindal. Thank you so much for doing this. And here, for the audience, just to introduce our panelist here. So Saurabh Chadha, he is going to graduate in the MBA batch of 2025 itself. But he is also working at HDFC at the moment, and also as well as doing his PG certification in investment banking as well. So Saurabh, is there anything that you'd like to add to your introduction?
Hi, Rahit. Thank you for having me here. So, you've just given the brief introduction of mine. So, that is how I'll put myself as well. Just to add up a little, I completed my schooling back in 2018 from Delhi Public School. So, my complete schooling was done from one school only. After that, I went on to do my bachelor's in physics, B.Sc in physics from HPU. That got completed in 2021. It was supposed to be completed in 2020, but we'll come to that. So that got completed in 2021. I took a little time off from studies after that. So about a 3 year break. I did a little bit of job and some business building in that time. And then I went on to do MBA. And after that, the HDFC thing came up. So that is me.
Saurabh, just to kick off the webinar, you said you couldn't complete your education before coming to Jindal. So, would you like to delve a little more into that?
So what happened is that after I completed my schooling, after my 12th was done, there was that little confusion that, okay, what do I need to do now? There was a little path after when I joined 11, I took up science. So I had something in my mind, but that didn't work out. So when I wasn't left with any option, I went on to do a B.Sc in physics. And probably there I had a mindset. I won't call it an ego, but a mindset that maybe I'm not meant for this, or maybe this thing is not meant for me. So I wasn't focusing there. I started focusing on other things. So I would take up some other certification course or something of that sort, apart from focusing on my bachelor's degree. Even my professors, they knew that, okay, this guy is doing a bachelor's degree because he wants the degree to get into a good master's college. So that thing is compulsory for that. So all of that went through, and uh, the first year it went fine, but we gave our exams and they were decent, very decent. And the day when our results came in the evening, I still remember I was in my room. So we just got a message that the results are out. I opened up my laptop, I went through the results, and what I found out was that I got an Yearback. That was something like more of a disbelief and a shock, instant shock that, okay, my exams did go bad. ऐसा नहीं था कि बहुत ही खराब गए होंगे, but they were decent, but they were not up to that mark के I would take up कि मैं fail ही हो जाऊंगा. And that was a very big shock for me that, okay, I have an year back now. What do I need to do? So I took a little bit of time to process all of that. uh, I had like 10 or 15 minutes with myself. Then I went on to my parents, okay, because they're the ones who need to know. I just had a conversation with them that, okay, this is what has happened. I didn't think about it. uh, I didn't know it would happen because nobody expects someone to fail, right? So that is how I came up to my parents as well, that this is what has happened now. And probably that was the point of time I came to know how much my parents are supporting me. They literally became my backbone at that point of time. My mother, especially my father, he was really calm about it. Like, he was the one who took me through all of it, that, okay, it's fine, whatever has happened now, so just focus on what you need to do next. So that is what we did. Uh, i i was in a little low stages of my life. I would call it the lowest points of my life, for like the 3 or 4 days period. uh, and thankfully, I have a little group of friends who I have a conversation with about everything. So every little detail about my life, I talk to them about it. They were the ones who supported me as well. They were the ones who took me out of that 3 4 days of phase of thinking that. So they got me out of it. They're like, okay, what's done is done. Just leave it. Focus on what you do need to do. If it can't be corrected, let's just try to do it better next time now. So uh, I joined the college 4 days after that thing happened. I had a conversation with the dean of the university that okay, can something be done about it? Like if there is any chance of neglecting an year back, and if we could give the resets or anything that could just avoid the this thing, the year back, because that was the initial reaction. Nobody wants anyone to waste 1 year. It's a complete 1 year. Whatever you've done, no matter you worked hard or you didn't, but nobody wants to waste a year. So we talked to the dean, but there wasn't anything that could be done. That is when I thought that okay, let's just leave it. What's done is done. It can't be sorted out. So let's focus on the things. I started a little bit of thinking. I pivoted from my decisions. Whatever I was doing, I started rethinking about it, and that is how I came out of that phase. And it was a decent experience. I would call like it was hard for me to still believe. I still couldn't believe while I was recovering from it. I still couldn't believe that this has happened, but I had to cope up with it because at that point of time, I had this thing that nothing hurts more than watching other people succeed. When you know that you have the capabilities and you still can't win. So that is what came up to my mind. So that took over me. I started redoing my things. I changed the things, changed my processes, how I did all of those things. And I started working hard. I kind of came into the top list after that. I won't call myself like a topper then. I'm not very fond of this this word actually. So I, I started coming in the averages because in the school as well, I was the kid who won't top in the class, but will still manage to stay in the top 5. I'll still be in that good spot. That is where I like to be. Uh, that is where I started being after that year back as well. That okay, I don't want to be the topper, but I'll be in the top 5. That top 5 sweet spot is where I want to be. That is what I did, and after that, I graduated in 2021. After that, that is how that journey was. That I was supposed to graduate in 2020, but I graduated in 2021. I started working after that for about 8 or 9 months. I worked at a company. Then I started my own business. For about 2 years, I ran my business. I left it to the family then, and I went on to find another job. That okay, I found out my passion that I wanted to do something in finance. So I was the first thing that comes to your mind when you go to finances that okay, I want to do something in banking. I was looking for jobs. Me as well as my friends, they were helping me out that okay, this is what you can do, and hopefully, like by God's grace, I found out a job in HDFC. But I had a conversation with my friends at that point of time. One night we were just on a video call and we were having the conversation, and they just came up with okay, why do you want to do a job right now? You're still very young. Why don't you go for a master's? So we had like a good 3 4 hour conversation about it. And the very next morning, I went to my mother that okay, I want to do a master's. But that was a shocking point for her then. That where did this come from? I just want to do it. We started searching for things. I found out about Jindal, and I luckily got enrolled into Jindal. Probably that was the best decision I made. Like right now, if there is one decision that I have to point out that this is the best one I've made, that is enrolling into Jindal. So I joined Jindal after that and started doing all of those studies and all. That is when I got excited about learning new things, and I was having a lot of fun, like learning that finance kind of thing. It was very fun. And every night, what me and my batchmates used to do is like we used to group study. We used to create like these webinars, Zoom calls, and all of those things. We would come together, and all of us would discuss all of the topics. Like whatever topic anyone understood the best, he would teach that topic. So that is what we used to do. That is how we had our fun. And while I was at Jindal, I found a job at HDFC then, and now I'm working at HDFC. So that's the story.
Saurabh, thank you so much for like such a detailed, explanation and info on your own personal, experiences as a person who had a year back, in bachelor's itself. So, were there any specific learning curves you had during that time, or change in learning itself that helped you in masters as well?
There were like what I told you, that year back was one point of time when I did a lot of rethinking. That 3 or 4 days of period, I did a lot of rethinking. That okay, what did I do wrong? Where did I mess up? And I did thinking about all of those things, and I went on to find out that the problem was with me and my mindset. I had to change my mindset. So that was the only problem that I found out was my mindset, that I was taking this thing in a very wrong way. I probably would have taken up me bigger than the degree, that okay, this is nothing for me. And that was life's way of showing me that okay, you need to come to grounds now. So the learning curves did change after that. I started focusing more towards the things that I was not interested as well in. Because earlier, what I used to do is I would only go through the things that I found interesting. That, okay, this is something I find interesting. Let me just go through it. And I learn it in very detail, like every bit of detail, but only the things that I found interesting. Whatever I found out that, okay, this is not something that's coming up to my mind, I'll just leave it. After the year back, that is one thing I changed. That okay, uh, you can't just skip things. Like you can go into minor details of the things you find interesting, but whatever there is that is like that you think is not important, you still need to know about it. That was one thing I changed later on, and that helped me in my MBA as well. So in my MBA, like every curriculum, I would go through every curriculum thoroughly. So I'd read all of those things, because there was this thing as well, right? That in the night we have to meet on this Zoom call and we have to go through the detailed studies. So there was that thing as well. So it was fun, and this is one thing that changed with my learning curve.
I think you know what whatever I understood from your dialogue here only. I feel like looking at details also is another thing that is sometimes overlooked as well. So I think
Hmm.
that's a very good advice to the people that might still be here at Jindal, the students that are here, and potential students that might be looking at it, even though they're not from Jindal itself.
Hmm.
So I believe looking at details and being detail oriented, gets you a long way, to be honest. So just moving ahead with the conversation, Saurabh, were there any stigmas or judgments, attached to your year back itself that you faced during that time?
It's a really good question. There might have been, like, very frankly, I've always been the person who doesn't care about being judged. So I don't care what the world has to say about me, unless my parents are fine with it, unless that my close knit circle of friends is fine with it. I'm happy with it. I don't care what anyone else has to say about it. So I don't have that pressure of that judgment. At that point of time, when the results came out, there there was a little thought in my head that okay, uh, the people who were like below me have also gone through. So that was a little thing I had in my head, but in that 3 4 days of thinking, that also went away. That okay, let's just skip it because I'm running my own race here. I don't have to compete with anyone, and I don't have to compare myself with anyone. That is one thing my parents taught me from very childhood, that don't compare yourself to anyone in any time. Whatever happens, don't compare yourself. So there was no judgment involved.
I think there's another term here that I could use. I mean, I don't want to imply anything, but
Hmm.
the feeling of imposter syndrome is also something that might develop during these kind of times. So, do you think anywhere during your time in masters, when you started off in masters or in bachelors, also
Hmm.
after your
Hmm.
year back, did you feel those kind of feelings then?
Uh, not exactly. When I joined my masters, I knew that I belonged here. This syndrome is something that developed during my bachelor's, the very first year of my bachelor's. That is probably the reason I got that year back. That imposter syndrome is the right word they came up with that. So that was the reason my year back came up. But during my masters, it was a really proud moment for me. Like I went on to Jindals, I got selected, and it was a really good time. I had a really good time at Jindals. So I won't say that there was any imposter syndrome at Jindal, but at HPU there was, because I straight off came from DPS to HPU, and that kind of came as an imposter syndrome to me, as my mindset was the problem that I would accept it. So to answer your question, this is that no imposter syndrome at Jindal, but big imposter syndrome at HPU.
Oh, I think that's a good thing then. So, Saurabh, what you talked about, having Zoom calls late at night, being
Hmm.
detailed oriented in your studies itself at Jindal here. So, do you have any other did you use any other strategies in your learning only here at MBA that actually made you one of the highest scoring people in your batch itself?
I did actually, because what we would do is like those sessions, those Zoom calls that we had, majority of the teaching was done by me. So what I would come up with is that whatever we studied, whatever the classes we had, whatever we went through our curriculum, I would take up some examples. If I didn't understand, I'd run them through on ChatGPT. That okay, explain these things to me like I'm a 5 year old or a 10 year old. I'd very, I would go into very details of everything, and later on in the evening, I would set all of those examples apart, and I would come up with my own example. So that is one thing I believe, that how you want how you can know that you've understood something is that if you learn something, you learn 10 examples of that thing, you take aside those 10 examples and you come up with one example of your own. If you can come up with that one example, you've understood the concept completely then. So that is what we used to do then.
Um, What is that one thing that you actually learned here at Jindal that you feel you couldn't have learned in your bachelor's as well? So, and also, a little glimpse into your life here at Jindal only, something that you liked here at Jindal, something that you can't, that roots your, faith here in Jindal itself about your own, course itself.
Jindal. So, as I told you, it's the best decision I've made. Finest things that I found out here was, one thing was, the very first thing was networking. I made sure that I networked well. I met the wrong people. I met the right people. I met the uh, seniors or juniors. I'd talk to everyone. Even if I could find anyone on LinkedIn, I would just go through. I'd send in a connection request. I talk to people. Like the, I would receive some connection requests as well. That okay, we want to enroll in Jindal. You're in Jindal. What do you think about it? Because so I'd straight off tell them that, okay, just take an admission here. You'll know it. It will be the best decision of your life. And one thing I'm thankful to Jindal is the people that I met there. The people are still very close. So there were some issues that we had in our examination as well, which got sorted out later. But when that problem came up in Jindal, we had an issue with one exam. When that problem came up, like one thing that I noticed was that my whole of my batch came into my support, and they were the they were the ones fighting with the professors uh, over emails for me. Like even I was not indulged into it that much as my whole batch was. Okay, you need to sort this thing out. So the people I found out were really great.
That's amazing. So I think a lot of people get lucky or they find lifelong friends in Jindal itself. So I feel that is another aspect of Jindal that, makes you makes this place unforgettable for an alumni itself. So,
Exactly.
Saurabh, what advice would you give to a person right now who's currently facing academic failure?
Yeah. One single advice is that don't be in that pressure of being judged. Instead, just go through yourself once, have a conversation with yourself. Like, be alone in the room or go out for a walk on a cliff or anything. Just sit alone in a nature park or anywhere you want to be, and have a conversation with yourself that what is it that you might be doing wrong? What is it that might be the problem? So, that is the only advice I would give because anyone else cannot tell you what you need to do, what's going on in your head. You are the best person who knows what's going on in your head and how you're doing the things. You can always take that input that, okay, you can do this and you probably might be doing this wrong. You need to take that input occasionally, and that's important as well. But have a conversation with yourself very first time. Just go through your own mind and try to figure it out what you think is you might be doing wrong. That's the only advice I'd give.
All right. So, just continuing forward, I have two more questions left, and
So,
then we'll conclude the webinar itself. So if what is that one thing here at Jindal itself? What is that one thing that you wish you knew in your first semester?
the one thing that Jindal that I wish, uh, I need to think about it. I don't think there was anything because I went on having fun with time at Jindal. It was just a great time I had. So I didn't used to miss anything, or there wasn't anything that I found out that okay, ऐसा कुछ missing सा लग तो रहा है. There wasn't anything as such. The complete tenure of my MBA, I had a lot of fun. The people, the professors, they were really great. The professors, they were very intuitive. Like we could talk to them about anything. We would come up with some of our own things, our own examples, or uh, how they cleared our doubts. That was amazing. We used to have a little bit of fun in between as well. It was all good. So there was nothing that I would term as पहले नहीं पता था. It was all right.
So I think you you know had a really fulfilled time here at Jindal itself,
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
all aspects, I feel. So all right, so my last question to you would be if you could go back, so would you change the fact that you had a year back?
To be honest, no, because that is one thing that has shaped me, that has led me to become who I am today. If I didn't get that year back, I probably wouldn't have gone for an MBA. I probably wouldn't have been at General, and let alone come up with this tougher thing. So that was the one scar I'd like to have for the rest of my life. Even if I could go back, I still won't change it. I'd still like to have it on me. That, okay, I had it, and that is what has shaped me. That is the 1 year that made me who I am. That 1 year of my complete life has shaped me more than any of the years combined. So I won't change that fact.
I think you just need to, like, whenever you're given hardships, I feel, me personally, if I would like to give my opinion, I think you just need to push through the hardships. So, I mean, as we say, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So, I think that is a very, very true saying. If I talk about personal experiences, also my personal experiences. So, I feel being able to push through hardships is one aspect, one attribute that I think everybody facing hardships should, look at and should focus on, to be honest. So, yeah. Saurabh, any last thoughts for the webinar itself?
I'd only just say that just embrace whatever comes through your life, take it as it comes through, because whatever happens for a good intention. That's probably the God's plan. So if everything goes as per your plan, that's fine. But if something goes sideways, you should just take it as this is something that God might have planned for you, and it is probably for the better good, and in a larger picture, it will be fine. Right now, like at that very point of time in my life, it was a very big thing that had happened. But now when I look at it, now I just feel that probably it was for good, because now I'm a very content person with whatever I've become. That is all I would say.
Thank you so much for doing this. And if you would like to do another one, another webinar with me, so we would be lucky and we would be happy to have you once again. So thank you so much for doing this. I will be leaving the webinar now. And yeah,
Thank you, Rehat. I'd love to do it again. Let me know whenever you need me.
yes, yes, definitely. I will definitely reach out to you once again. We'll have a second phase of this or soon enough.
Definitely. Yeah.
So, yes, please do keep in contact and I'll see you in the next one then.
Sure, sure, sure. Rehat. Thank
Thanks
you
so
very much.
much, Saurabh. Thank you.